Welcome to the Red and Gold Report, where I'm still wondering what in the world was that game? The Chiefs were down until halfway through the fourth quarter, and then zip, zap, Mahomes' magic enters the picture, and the Chiefs win. I hope you were able to catch the game on Sunday. It really was an incredible game to watch if you enjoy football, or even if you just enjoy holding your breath for 2 hours. In this week's episode of the Red and Gold Report, we're going to be looking at this nail-biter of a game, why the Chiefs were getting beat for so much of it, and how they were able to come back at the very, very end. And hey, as we get started, if you want your weekly Chiefs news brought to you by a guy who watched the entire fourth quarter of the game standing on my coffee table like a crazy person, then you gotta subscribe to this channel. First up, the Player of the Game award. Yes, Mahomes worked his Mahomes magic, but I'm actually going to give the Player of the Game award to Tyreek Hill. Cheetah. Tyreek had 197 yards on 11 receptions with a touchdown. He made the Browns look like somebody had hit the slow motion button. And I loved watching Tyreek's little inner voices work against each other when he was trying to comply with the league's new silly no taunting rule after his touchdown. Like, you could see him. He wanted to throw up his deuces. He didn't do it. And oh, speaking of the things I love, did anybody else get more enjoyment than they should have watching Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield throw that little adult temper tantrum on the field after his vital interception clinched the game for the Chiefs? Yeah, I probably enjoyed that too much. But anyway, I got to give Player of the Game to Tyreek Hill. Second, let's talk about the storyline of the game. Here was the storyline. After being heavily favored at home, the Chiefs were actually being beat all throughout the first half, and pretty handedly. The Chiefs defense simply could not slow the Browns down. It looked like somebody trying to stop a waterfall with a Dixie cup. It just wasn't happening. Then, in the fourth quarter, the Chiefs defense finally woke up out of nowhere, forced a fumble recovery, and then on their next drive, they forced the Browns to actually punt for the first time in the game with less than 9 minutes left. But instead of punting, the Browns punter muffed the catch and gave the Chiefs offense the chance to actually catch up in the game. Mahomes was all Mahomesy. Yes, that's a word I'm officially making up. Mahomesy is the adjective form of the proper noun Mahomes. After a few amazing throws to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, the Chiefs went on top. The newly acquired slot corner Mike Hughes picked off Baker Mayfield on the Browns' final drive, crushing the Browns' comeback hopes and ending in a Chiefs victory and the aforementioned Baker Mayfield tantrum. Now, with that storyline in mind, what did we learn about the Chiefs? Well, third, why don't we talk about things that we shouldn't be worried about? Well, obviously, we don't need to be worried about the Mahomes, Kelce, Hill trio of awesomeness. Also, I know that the offensive line just kind of played okay in the game, but I don't think we have to worry about that. I mean, remember that all 5 players are new, and 3 of the 5 are in their first year. So some of the breakdowns that we saw, there were more miscommunication breakdowns as they have to figure out how to play with one another. Also, let's not hit the panic button on the run game yet. Yeah, I know the Chiefs running backs only ran for 3 yards. 3 yards in the first half. And I know starter Clyde Edwards-Helaire only ran for 43 yards with a 3.1 yard average. But like I just mentioned, the line, it's still getting to know each other. And, the Chiefs have proven throughout the years that they don't need to run to score a bunch of points. I also think we don't need to be worried that they only scored 3 points in the first quarter. Kind of started a little slow, it felt like, for the offense. In reality, the Browns had the ball for most of the first quarter. And remember that most of the offensive starters for the Chiefs are new. So, you know what? We won. And there's a ton to celebrate about. It was an amazing game, and there's a lot to not worry about. But fourth, let's talk about a few of the things maybe we should be worried about. A few of the reasons why they did get so far behind in the game. And that is the defense, which allowed 318 yards in the first half alone. Until the fourth quarter, the defense, they looked like matadors. They're just letting the Browns bowl right through. I know that safety Tyrann Mathieu, defensive end Frank Clark were out. But the issues are deeper than that. And the issues are a symptom of what we were worried about going into the season. These worries on defense are the defensive ends and the linebackers. At defensive end, the only player creating any pressure was All-Pro Chris Jones, who's moving from defensive tackle, and he had 2 sacks. But here's something interesting we really need to keep our eye on. Jones is amazing, but his one downfall is his stamina. Now pair that with him being 290, 6'6", having to come off the edge at that size. It was 92-degree heat index that day. There's going to be some exhaustion, right? So the Chiefs had to rotate him in and out of the game. The problem with this is that whenever he was out of the game, the Browns didn't even have to worry about the pass rush. Mayfield had time to knit a sweater and then throw the ball down the field. Mike Dana just couldn't get pressure. 4th-round rookie Josh Cain, though, he isn't ready. He particularly showed this actually on a run play by crashing inside when it was an outside run, allowing this huge run in the second quarter. Alex Okafor was just non-existent. It's time to worry about the defensive ends. The other issue to worry about is probably the linebackers. This combo of Ben Neiman and Anthony Hitchens, wow, it did not get the job done, which is largely why the Browns were able to run for 153 yards and a nearly 6-yard average. But you know what? There's actually hope here with the linebackers. Willie Gay could return from injury in a few weeks, which would be amazing. We're real excited about him. And also backup linebacker Nick Bolton played well, that rookie second rounder coming off the bench. Bolton played fewer snaps than those other guys at linebacker, but he had just as many tackles and more tackles for loss than Neiman and Hitchens combined. I'm really rooting for the coaches just to put him out there. Start Bolton. Get him out there. I'd love to see what he can do as an every down linebacker. So while there's a ton not to worry about, a ton to celebrate, on opening day, there are 2 things to worry about with this defense, the linebackers and the pass rush at defensive end. But then fifth, as we break down the game, a few fun facts. You might be wondering how the Chiefs won with 60 yards less of offense than the Browns. Well, 2 fun facts tell you exactly why. The Chiefs had 0 turnovers in the game. Browns had 2. And the Chiefs went 9 for 13 on third downs, while the Browns only went 2 for 7. Yeah, that's why they won, right? Also, a few fun facts about Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has now won 11 games and lost 0 games in the month of September for his career. He's also still never thrown an interception in the month of September. That's pretty crazy. He's an amazing player. 6, let's take a look at the referees for the game. Apparently, it was the first game of the year for them too. And one of the most bizarre plays you will ever see. With 5 minutes left in the first quarter, the Browns, number 25, Harrison, the safety, he decides to stay on our player too long on a sideline tackle. So a Chiefs assistant coach comes over and attempts to kind of get them up. And so 25 shoves. No, he really punched our coach in the chest. You don't see this stuff. The blind refs were so bad that they called the penalty on the Chiefs. I was losing my mind watching the game. But luckily, the ref headquarters called and made sure that they correctly called the penalty on the Browns. They threw out 25. They did get it right in the end. With help from New York, but not the refs on the field. The refs also missed a horse collar that was committed on Tyreek Hill and 2 different pass interference calls, both with Browns defenders hitting Hill clearly too early. I don't know. Maybe the refs really could have used that 4th preseason game. With that game in the books, the other news to share is that the NFL Network recently completed releasing the final rankings of the NFL Top 100, where the players actually vote on the top 100 players in the league. Is it just a popularity contest? Yes. Has it shown that it's flawed because it ranked Mahomes 4th last year? Oh yeah. Does it mostly exist to get the NFL Network through a really slow month of the news cycle before the start of the season? Oh yeah, but is it still fun? Yes, here are the Chiefs who made the top 100 list. Tyrann Mathieu was number 58. Defensive lineman Chris Jones came in at 34. Wide receiver Tyreek Hill came in 15th. Tight end Travis Kelce came in at number 5. And of course, Patrick Mahomes got his just deserves, and he came as the number 1 best player in the National Football League, because he is. And an interesting thought with this is to wonder what Chiefs player might be next to join the list. Like, who do you think would be the next Chief who could be ranked as a top 100 player? Leave that in a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think, and let me know your player that you think is going to make it next. I think it's probably going to be L'Jarius Sneed. He's got all the tools he needs to be that next great Chiefs player. So that does it for the Red and Gold Report this week. Thanks so much for watching. If you have not yet subscribed and you want weekly updates and game recaps for the season every single week brought to you on YouTube, you got to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and go Chiefs.